Welcome back to Making It Look Easy. It's your boy Denzel. As you can see, I'm super excited because I have somebody that I've been watching for the past 2 years when it comes to government contracting. A lot of y'all probably don't know, but I do have my own small business in government contracting. And this lady I've been watching for 2 years religiously. She is your favorite veteran, Miss Sheena Paneur. Did I say the last name right? I want to make sure I got you right.
You said Sheena Paneur.
Sheena, did I say it right?
Sheena Paneur, yeah. That's
Okay,
my
cool.
alias. Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I cannot complain. I can't complain at all. I feel like I have to give a little backstory on how we end up getting here in the first place. So I got introduced to government contracting. Well, when I got out of the military, I was working on a government contract, but I was doing overseas security. After that, I got onto another contract doing IT. With that job, I ended up getting laid off. And so I started picking up the lingo, when it comes to like this company bidding, this company, these people getting laid off. So it was all the same, terminology when it comes to my work. So when I got laid off, I ended up going overseas for a little getaway. And I was like, man, I got to figure it out. I got to get up out of this 9 to 5. I have to do something else. I just can't do the 9 to 5. So I was listening to Earn Your Leisure, and Jason White was on there. You know the episode that I'm talking about?
I didn't watch it, but I'm very familiar with Earn Your Leisure, Jason White, that whole...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was listening to him talk, and he was breaking everything he was saying. I was like, I'm familiar with all this stuff he's saying. And so I was like, the way he made it seem, he broke it down in the simplest form to where it's like, all you got to do is just, start at step one and go get that LLC. Well, at this time, I'm overseas, so I can't just go get an LLC. I was over there for like 2 months out of Southeast Asia. So I took that time to, YouTube University and just study as much as I possibly could. And I ended up coming across your channel, and I was like, oh, okay, she a sister and she a veteran? Like, let me take as much as I possibly could. I took so many notes as far as like, what you put out on YouTube. And by the time I got back to the States, because I'm from Texas, I just started with step one, which was just get the LLC. So I made that my step one. And then my step two was, just get registered. And so little by little, I didn't try to overwhelm myself. So that's how I ended up, coming into the government contracting world. But I'm so thankful that you're here, because now you can give some clarity to other people that might be interested in getting into government contracting.
Yeah. So my thing is, anyone who brings people to government contracting, I appreciate, because there's so much money, so many opportunities. Even now with things changing, there's still, I believe, there's so many opportunities that we can still take advantage of. Even if you don't do federal, which most people only know about federal, which is fine. That's what most people teach. That's what they know. But for me, my company, Foresight Industries Facility Management Company, started it while I was still on active duty. But nonetheless, we were kind of like COVID business. We were a newbie business, and then COVID happened. So then when federal kind of like, it wasn't a shutdown, but it was a pivot, that's when I started really looking at like corporate contracting. So when I started, I saw local, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's do local and federal. But then during COVID, I'm like, well, there's companies that are saying they want suppliers to provide services and products as well, like AT&T, T-Mobile, Facebook, all these companies. I'm like, well, what is this? What is this corporate side? So then within that time, I just thought I can actually do all three of these things. It's the same service. It's just a different client. So, I appreciate anyone who teaches or educates people about government contracting, because we all have so much to share. We all have our own perspectives. And then when someone runs into a problem, they're like, well, Sheena said this, or Jason White said this, or Kizzy said this. I don't have a problem with, anyone who teaches about it, because we all have very unique experiences, especially we're in this trillions of dollars in just federal contracting. billions of dollars in local and probably even trillions on the corporate side. So who has all the information?
So from what I know, from what I understand right now, there's two sides to government contracting. There's the business side, and then there's the hustle. As far as like someone can start a small business and go after like landscaping jobs and stuff like that, and they can probably win those contracts. But then there's also the side where someone is trying to make this a legit business and like build it up into something bigger. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, was that
Because
a
I felt
question?
like, yeah, well, basically, like, from what because what I hear from every single, person that's online teaching government contracting, there's multiple ways to do it. It's just about how
Yeah.
seriously do you take it.
So when you say hustle, I guess I'm not really clear what you mean, because if you're doing a federal contract, right, you're
Uh-huh.
bound by federal regulations. So I'm not really sure how that can be. Maybe I'm just not understanding exactly what you mean when you say hustle, but you're bound by federal obligations. So I don't know how that could be anything other than what it is. Well, now whether you decide to continue with it is on you. So you might win one contract. I had one student way back when I first started kind of like teaching people. She was just on it. She was a real estate agent. She bid on 3 contracts, lost 2 of them by like a couple of dollars, and won her third one, and it was for janitorial. And she was a beast. Okay, like she really just figured it all out up in Chicago. It was a local contract. She serviced that contract for 2 years and got out. She said, "No, this is not what I want." So that doesn't mean that she hustled. She just had a business. She did that contract, and she stopped. So for me, people, just like any other business, if you remove government contracting out of it, how many of us have done MLMs or started other types of businesses that we just didn't finish, or we just closed it down? Like I've had a gazillion businesses before I got into government contracting, and that they just, for whatever reason, didn't work. I got deployed and all other kind of things. But you can choose how long you want to be in government contracting, the same way you would choose being in, any other type of business, from my perspective, if I'm understanding your question.
I think I didn't give enough information. Someone who has a 9 to 5 and was probably making 6 figures, and then they overhear their businesses, they want a government contract and they want 2 landscaping government contracting jobs. Like, how they look at those 2 things, one being a hustle, one being my true
Ah,
occupation. Like, that's how,
so I
you
would
see what I'm
say that
saying?
was literally my life, and it was not a side hustle. Like I was
Okay.
working 9 to 5. Well, shit, 7 to 6, and then I had a whole 6-figure business that I was doing when I got off work. So it wasn't no side. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess that's a personal attack that I feel, because I'm like, yeah, there's a side hustle when you're selling stuff on Etsy, but then
Yeah.
I had employees. I was making 250,000. 100,000 with my job, so they both were equally, took up my time. Not to mention life stuff, wife, mom, all that other stuff. But, I was doing both of them, and they were both full times. So it was like 2 full-time jobs essentially. So for me, that still all depends, right? If you're selling t-shirts online, to me, I would consider that to be a hustle unless you are doing a lot. Like my daughter she used to make crock charms. So she was doing school, had a part-time job, played volleyball, and was doing that business late at night. So I think it really just depends on what how much time you're investing in it. Because if you are doing landscaping, right, and you have to cut the grass every day, and it takes 5 hours every day, is that side hustle? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's some contracts I've seen at the airport where it's going to take you 9, 10 hours to do the whole thing. Let's just say you're doing it by yourself on your own lawnmower. It's going to take you a lot of hours to get it done. So you're investing your whole day into this, whether you have a job or not. You know what I mean? So it really just depends. If you're saying like, okay, well, I only do products with the government and they come when they come. So I sell let's just say batteries, and battery contracts come every 4 months. I do that when I feel like it. If I don't feel like it, then cool. Then to me, that's kind of like, okay, that's part-time. You're not trying to take it too seriously. You're just selling a couple of things to the government. Cool. So it really just depends on what it is you're doing, to me, and how many hours it takes. how many people you depend on you. If you don't have any employees, that even still may not be. If you don't have employees, you may be doing everything yourself. So now you got more time invested. And then if you have employees, those employees depend on you, essentially for their livelihood. So, there's a lot
I
of
get
different
what you're
ways to look
saying.
at it. Yeah, if you're a business
Yeah,
owner, it depends. You can be doing something part-time regardless if it's government contracting or not. And especially if you're talking about federal contracting and even local contracting, when you're held to an obligation, it just depends on how it's written.
for somebody like myself who likes to travel a lot, is government contracting possible for someone who's a digital nomad, someone who travels all over the world and live in different places? Are they able to still have a government contracting business and be successful?
Absolutely, for several reasons. One, so you can absolutely, as long as your business. I don't know how it works when you are actually you have your home base is overseas. I'm not sure how that works when it comes to federal contracting. But let's say your home base is the U.S. and so you're registered. If you're talking about federal contract, you're registered in SAM. That's the requirement, is that you're like a U.S. citizen. I'm not sure how it works any other way, but let's just say your home base is U.S. There's contracts around the world. So you can be a solopreneur and go and do something where it only requires one person, and you can just go to those different locations every time you get a contract. I actually have a student that she's not a digital nomad, but she's a traveling nurse. So wherever she goes, she'll bid on a contract there. So that works for her, because she can't just say, I want to do business in this one, even though it's within the U.S. most of the time. She's like, well, shoot, I'm in Iowa now, so let me go and bid on a contract in Iowa because I'm physically here. So with me, just like with my home base being in Atlanta, and I have contracts that are physical buildings, I can work anywhere. Like, I take my laptop still on vacation. I just feel more comfort in that. And, no matter how long I'm gone or where I'm going to, if you have a good team, that's another way for you to be able to travel the way that you want to travel. The point is to never have to service your own contracts unless that's what you do. Some people get a contract for themselves as they're a staffing company, a staff of one. I am giving myself a contract. And then some people, they will hire out, So if you have a good team and you're able to hire out, then you shouldn't have to physically go anywhere. You shouldn't. Sometimes after COVID, really, a lot of the stuff changed where contracting officers want to see your face. Like, I want to see the owner's face to face, but even still, it's not going to be tomorrow. So even if you're somewhere in Thailand, hey, give me a week, I'll be back if you want to see me face to face. But, since COVID, people are okay with digital everything.
To give those who don't understand government contracting, those who don't quite know who you are, do you mind informing the people on your background and how long you've been doing government contracting?
Yeah, so Sheena Paneur, but my real name is Sheena Parker, and I am a retired signal warrant officer. Retired in 2022. Started my company officially in 2017, but I really was looking into doing government contracting right around 2014. I was doing real estate just like everybody else. I got up to 7 properties, realized that I am too volatile of a landlord, and sold all my properties. And I was like, okay, well, I really like the whole renovation process of this, of the business, but I just can't do the people part, right? So I had a contractor throughout this whole process of me buying and selling properties or whatever. So just happened to be, and I was working corporate. I worked at a corporate company when I wasn't on active duty. I was working for my company. I worked for them for multiple years, and I was at a Christmas party, and this guy walks up to me literally and says, "Hey, I heard that you're a veteran." And I'm like, "Yeah." Totally random. And he said, "Well, you're a Black female veteran. You should do government contracting." I'm like, I don't even know what are you even saying? I don't even understand those words. I don't know what you mean. And this was like 2013, Christmas 2013, something like that. And so, I'm like, wow, what is it? And he's just, he's making it sound good, but I still don't know what he's talking about. So I go down, they're leaving that party, YouTube University, for weeks, like long, 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 long time. Came across Eric Coffey. Eric Coffey was the first person to make me understand what government contracting was. I was like, oh my goodness, now I get it. Because really before him, when you look at other videos that were prior to him, the videos were dry. They were from the SBA or SBDC, and they just still were unclear. So, I was just kind of studying, and I was still, I'm active duty again. And so I just was learning a little bit, still doing a little bit of real estate. And so then I started looking at contracts right around 20. I had some like military obligations. So 2016, started looking at contracts. And I think I might have just Googled like contracts, and I landed on a local contract that was close to, not that close, but about an hour from my house. And so I bid on it and I won. And I'm like, what? Like, it's that easy? Okay, bet. And I had my contractor, but my contractor said I bid too low. So I had to end up canceling that contract. So I was like, I'm hearing, if you cancel a contract, you're banned forever. You're banned for life. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to be banned for life, but I can't do this contract because I'm going to be paying out of pocket. Not happening. So I found a loophole, able to cancel it, bid on the second contract. I won that one, first 6-figure contract. And I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, why is everyone not doing this? And so moving into the next year, I said, I want to bid on more contracts, but I don't have the time. So I'm going to come out of pocket from my paycheck and pay someone to help me. So I found someone, she bid on the third contract, and we won. And that's how I got into janitorial. Because I thought I was going to be a flooring contractor. Right? That was the two that I bid on and won. I thought I was going to be flooring forever, and I wasn't even really thinking about it. And so when I was choosing my industry, I chose facilities. And I'm like, because it's not real estate, but the only other thing, I'm not construction. So facilities was the closest thing to what I was already doing with real estate, besides being an agent. So first 3 contracts bid on and I won. We're executing. A whole bunch of money comes in, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. This is it. Still, now mind you, I'm still on active duty. So I'm in my uniform and going to, we need to see you in the office right now, and I'm like, I am over an hour away. I'm at work in my uniform. Okay, on my way. That type of stuff. So I just kind of rolled with it. I didn't know what I was doing for real. I just knew I had a contractor that could do the work. And they told me I need to fill out this document. I'm filling out the document.
Did you ever feel, through your years of being in government contracting, was there ever a time of fatigue, like you wanted to give up?
Oh yeah, every day.
After making all that money.
It's still a business.
After making all that money, you still feel that way.
Oh yeah, the money. One thing you realize when you start making money, that money doesn't solve all your problems, okay? And money in particular doesn't move me. I want money, believe that. I want money, I desire money, I'm going to get to the money, but money doesn't move me. Like, I'm not going to be in a terrible situation just because there's money involved. I will throw the money in. I always tell my staff, I will throw the money in the fireplace before I allow it to ruin my peace. I pay for peace. So, it's a business. That's what I keep going back to that, because when I teach like my students and I teach on YouTube and all that stuff, I'm like, y'all got to realize the same government contracting out the equation, whatever you do, you got to want to do it. If you really, really hate dealing with people, you probably shouldn't have a staffing company just because it makes a lot of money. If you can't spell IT, don't do IT. Do something that's within your wheelhouse, something that you feel is comfortable for you. So if you don't want to do it every day, you're going to struggle, because the government and corporate agencies are going to make you really, really step it up more than you ever have, especially when you're first starting, because you've never heard of half of the things they're asking you for. You're dishing out a lot of money, even on the corporate side. You're dishing out a lot of money that you don't even have. And so you need to be ready. Like, and people that they can't even get through reading the solicitation. So I'm like, if you can't get through reading the solicitation.
Normally it'd be like 63 pages on a solicitation. So like, that can be overwhelming for a lot of people,
And what do you think is going to happen when you get the contract? You think it's going to be less overwhelming?
Contract, yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be worse. There's money involved now. You got an obligation. It's like saying, like having a child. You know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness. Oh, me being pregnant is so stressful. What you think is going to happen when this kid pop out? It's going to be 20 million times more stressful. So it's, I want people to really grasp when they say, I want to do this, and they don't have the business acumen. Everybody's not meant to be a business owner, and that's fine. Like, it's okay to not be a business owner. And if you don't have that fortitude, you're going to have a hard time.
Taking government contracting out of it for a little bit, more on you. You changing lives, whether if you know it or not. You helping a lot of people out. And, based off of what I know, you've been able to grow a business that's been allowing other people opportunities. You got staff, you got people that they live off of the decisions that you've made. How has it helped you as like, because when you say it's not just about the money, like I'm looking at it, maybe it's about that because you've been helping a lot of people. So do you feel like this right here is what it's really all about, what you're doing outside of government contracting?
That's a great question. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of things that I've been saying, it'll be mentioned again like the next day. So you kind of know if it's divine, right? So I was telling another friend that, contrary to popular belief, I'm a super introvert. Like I can be in a room and not speak to a single soul and be peaceful, right? I'm just not that. And so I was telling her that I think I really want to help people so bad that I'm sacrificing me not wanting to really be an extrovert in order to help people. Like I'm making myself an extrovert in order to help other people. And I was like, that sounds weird. Like that doesn't even sound like a normal thing, but I'm making myself available in order for other people to change their life. And so I think at some point you realize that's what it is about. And then if you study, business owners that have been doing this for a long time or a little bit of time that are actually successful. We're not talking about the fly-by-nights. We're talking about people who have built something substantial. They usually have a similar, I don't think the word is genotype, but they have a similar type of personality. Whether they can be, way on the arrogant side or way on the humble side, they still have this baseline of wanting to do good unto others. They may have gone through the whole phase of money, 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 money reigneth upon me, and bump that. I'm not helping anybody else. Bump everybody because they just don't listen anyway. And then you just kind of have this moment where you're like, whatever. If you want to do it, I'm here to help you. If you don't want to do it, cool. So it's like you get this peace upon yourself when you started something great or you're doing something great and everybody wants to bring their family along. They're like, I'm going to have my sister do this. I'm going to have my cousin do this. My kids are going to be doing this. And then you realize after you ran through all your family members and realize that they're just not where you are mentally, then you're like, it's okay that they didn't want to do it. And the same thing goes for other people. So it really is about if I can touch one person, if I can reach one person, and that person, instead of them going to do something illegal, they bid on a contract and won, or this single parent is able to change the future of her children because she took my course. That's like, wow, that's a really amazing feeling. And, the things come back, everything comes back the same way it's dished out. So, good karma begets good karma. Giving things, giving money is supposed to come back full circle, even if you don't do it for that. But I personally have a good feeling when I am able to assist somebody and they really are able to change their life.
Yeah. And you have, even with the free information that you give out online, like sometimes that's all somebody needs. I know for me, a lot of it came from just watching countless hours of your YouTube videos. And it was just like that one thing that was said, or you having an interview with someone else and they're talking about their experience. I haven't really touched too much on mine, but I will say that so now I got to a little bit. So I started my company once I got back from my overseas trip. And I went through the steps, SAM.gov, SBA. I just tried to do things in doses because I did not want to overwhelm myself, while at the same time, just trying to intake as much information as possible. I was listening every day, driving, you name it. It was, what I'm saying, government contracting was playing on my phone. And, it got to the point to where I had everything set up. And then it gets to the point to where it's like, all right, now you got to be able to bid on these proposals. Now,
yep.
I think someone first stepping into the game, they can understand the janitorials for the most part, or landscaping, or, snow removal. Those can be understood, but then there's like fine lines and fine prints and bars and all this type of stuff. It takes a little bit more knowledge to understand. And so, I ended up getting to the point to where I was just so determined to where I ended up reaching out for help. Like I got some buddies that they're very business savvy and they're serious about what they say. And so I ended up teaming up with one of my boys out here in Dallas, and I was breaking it down to him, which he actually told me that he was interested in getting a government contracting, when I first mentioned it to him. He was like, yeah, bro, let me know about that. So when I came back to him, broke everything down to him, all the knowledge that I had, he was like, yeah, boom, let's make it happen. Long story short, we ended up meeting with some guys, and they ended up investing into us, which gave
Oh,
us,
nice.
I know it's different. Some people really got it out the mud by like watching YouTube and submitting a proposal. We actually was able to pitch this idea of government contracting in order to receive funds to help us go out and be able to hire people to submit these proposals. The people that submit the proposal, they have the understanding of the solicitation. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this is a real business at this point, at least because when you first get into government contracting, you hear the middleman approach so much to the point to where, you looking at that like, that's a quick little lick. You can go and, that's nothing. But then there's a side of it where it's like, no, you're the prime. And I heard you on one video say, well, I don't see it like that. It's like, well, you the prime. Like, so the way I'm looking at it now is like more so of like big business. It's a small business, but we're taking it so serious to the point to where it feels like we're responsible for everyone else that's involved in this. And so, I got to this point now because of watching your videos. So like having you on my platform is like, I told my mom, I say, yo, I actually got somebody on that I'm extremely excited about because I've been watching it, because she know how serious I've been taking the government contracting business. And I'm like, the person that I have on, this is the lady that's been actually like teaching me. Little does she know. So, yeah.
Oh, that's dope. No, I love to hear that. And and there's so many people who are like, all right, look, I ain't buying the course. I ain't got time. I ain't got the money. I get it. They're like, but I did watch your stuff and I learned from you and I bid and I won, or I've been at least inspired, because that's what at the end of the day, what it is. I'm not holding your hand and writing or reading anything for you, right? So you have to be inspired to do it on your own. So, and the ones who need the super hand holding, there's a layer of fear there. And sometimes I can break through the fear and sometimes I can't. But you have to want to do this, because bidding on a contract that's nothing. That is this much of the ultimate goal. That's such a small piece that I'm in fear that when you don't want to read the solicitation and you don't want to bid on it, at least try. I don't care if you mess it up and it looks like trash. Like going through the motions of reading it, dissecting it, submitting it, you're over the fear. Boom, fear gone. Fear gone. Now you have to worry about the execution. Because if you're in fear of paper, how are you going to manage people? How are you going to manage the logistics of this project? How are you going to make sure you submit your invoices? What if you get nervous to submit your invoice correct? You going to not submit the invoice? She became my student later, but she was a student of somebody else before, and she had already won a contract when she came to me. And so she didn't know how to submit an invoice. It was like 3 months later. I'm like, you haven't submitted any invoice and you got a subcontractor? Well, I didn't know how. How were you intending to get paid? You know what I mean? Like, because you had someone do all the work for you prior to, you had someone do the solicitation for you, you had somebody do da-da-da-da-da, but all in all, you're really not a business person. Like you got to fight through. You may not know all the details, but if you're able to say, okay, well, I don't know how to do that, I'm just going to try it. And then you fail, who cares? Like, it's the trying, it's the experience, it's the fortitude.
To everybody's point, because y'all don't know, I just came out the field, so I know people probably looking at your shirt inside out. I just left the field. Me and my boys been camping, been having a great time. Been looking forward to this interview so much that I made sure I'm doing it in my car. This is not the normal setting for me, but I was not going to miss this interview or reschedule it for anything, because I feel like this is some valuable information. When it comes to government contracting, do you think that it can be oversaturated?
No, there's trillions of dollars, and that's just what's listed. I will say in certain industries, in certain locations, there may be a lot of people going after this opportunity, but that's literally one opportunity. And so that's the reason why I teach about local as well, because there was only one person that I found who really, they don't have a lot of opportunities coming out. She's a professional organizer, one of my good friends. veteran, and there's no federal. Like, I've never seen a federal contract for a professional organization. So she has to be creative in partnering with other companies that do other stuff, and then they have to offer that service on the federal side. Yeah. But for school systems, she's a rock star. So if she was only focusing on federal, she'll say, oh, there's nothing out there or whatever, but on the local side, she's good. So if you find something that's oversaturated, you consider to be oversaturated, like janitorial is notoriously oversaturated here in Atlanta. But there's probably no one in Wyoming providing. There's probably 2 people in Wyoming providing janitorial services in whatever the capital of Wyoming is. So it depends on your location. It depends on what you're doing. You can always offer different types of services. Some people, if you're doing janitorial, you might say, okay, well, we offer deep cleaning only. Like if you just need a one-time deep clean, or you're doing a one-time, if you're doing green products only, or you're, something like that, event cleaning, you can kind of remix it. One of my students, she's like, I'm going to start doing construction cleaning. She's like, I don't want to do janitorial anymore. I want to do construction cleaning only. So she started reaching out to construction companies, and the construction companies, what they were doing prior was hiring laborers. And that's hard because you got to like make sure that they can do all kind of different stuff. But if you can have a company that you always use for construction cleanup, she just solved the whole problem in her area. Thinking. So she felt like it was slightly oversaturated in Florida, or the part of Florida she's in, janitorial. But then she just was like thinking out the box, like, okay, I won this contract, it's cool, but how can I make this better for me? Let me think outside of the box.
For listeners listening in, I just want to make it clear. There's 2 ways you can go about this. If I had the money, I would have definitely bought your course. But since I didn't, I had to take the time to go through all these hours of learning, which I definitely still feel like you should do if you're getting a government contract. I think you should take it very seriously, because this is one of those things. For me, I never saw myself being an entrepreneur, a businessman at all. I could not see it. So for me to be where I'm at and be able to work with guys that putting in the same amount of effort as me because they see it, I would highly suggest that if you can purchase Mrs. Paneur's course, please do so, because it's a lot of game. I'm holding back on the questions because I want it to be genuine. I want y'all to go and actually go out and get this information from her on her platform. Where can they find you at?
So it's Sheena Paneur on everything except for LinkedIn. I'm Sheena Parker.
One last question. What can the listeners, if they're curious, what should they be expecting to get out of your course?
So again, I teach about federal contracting, local contracting, and corporate contracting. We do have a business startups element of it. So if you aren't quite sure what your industry you want to go into, we go through a couple of basic exercises of trying to figure out what you want to do. But even if you've already been in business for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, and you're just finding out about government contracting or corporate contracting, we take you through the best way for your business to scale and grow. The thing that I don't like is, even with me when I was learning about this, is like, okay, you just register in SAM, you do this. That's not enough for me. I needed the Barney style breakdown. So what do I do when this happens? What happens if I don't have any money and they're telling me I need a bond? What happens if, I go to an event? What am I supposed to say? How am I supposed to communicate with people? So I have all that broken down in the course. And of course, since I'm a veteran, I do have a whole section for veterans. I take the veteran community very seriously. So even me as an actual business owner, veteran, I go to a lot of programs. I talk about the different programs that I've participated in and how to really maximize your veteran community. Because I'm a Black woman veteran, so I can be a part of a lot of communities, right? Veterans happen to be, amongst my favorite. So, I really want people to capitalize on the benefits that they have in order to grow and scale their business as a veteran.
Even for me, we already got it mapped out. Me and my business partner, we're furthering our education when it comes to government contracting. So we're still going to be taking courses. The earnings that we're going to be getting in, we're going to be taking those and we're going to be putting it back into the business, and education is one of them. So you'll be seeing me in your course for sure, because there's still a lot of things, What about you? Are you still learning when it comes to government contracting?
I
You've been
think
in it
I
10
think it's
years?
very ignorant. I think it's very ignorant to not be a continuing learner, to continue to be a learner as a business owner, period. Most of these things that you need to know as a government contractor is really business stuff. Like, do you need to have insurance? That's not organic to government contracting. That's regular business stuff. So I'm a reader, an avid reader. I got Audible, a forever learner. And I know a lot of people are not like that. And since I've been doing this so long, I brought a lot of people to government contracting that were my personal friends before. And to see the transition is hilarious because they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Sheena, please. Like, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. And then they like have this moment where they wake up and they're like, oh my God, like, it consumes their life. Now I can't even get no lunch dates with anybody anymore because they're like, no, I'm working on a proposal. I'm like, you were me in 2020, in 2019, 2020. You were me. That's exactly how I was. I'm sending people motivational videos every morning. I'm like, if you're not up at 4 a.m, you ain't taking this seriously. I was crazy. I don't even know how I still have friends.
Since you brought it up, so we can go ahead and nip the misconception in the bud, can you please tell the people that this is not no this is not no Avon, this is not no product, this is not no pyramid scheme, this is not what's the Vortex VX
passive income.
Which one what's it called, Vortex, the trade thing? This ain't none of that. Can you please tell the people that Forex? Can you please tell the people that government contracting is not Forex?
It's definitely not. It's not a multi-level marketing. You mentioned it earlier about being big business. Even if you're a small business, they're giving you big business teams. So you have to step up. This is not, like I said, I was working full time. So if anybody can understand the struggle, is me. So people will say, well, how am I supposed to do this full time? You just do it. If you want to do it, you're going to do it just like you do everything else, right? So if you feel like you want to do something super, super passive, this ain't it. The requirement is too large, even if you're doing products. Now, there might be a couple of things. Let's say you already been selling batteries as a side thing. It won't be a hard transition for you to sell batteries to the government. So if that's always been your side hustle, like I have a friend that sells AT&T services. He has some kind of business contract with AT&T that he's had for years. I don't know if it was 5 links. It's not 5 links, but it's something like that. And so he's been doing it for a million years. And it's a side hustle. And if he was to start, well, he's done it before, but if he was to go back to selling the service to a new company or something, then that's like kind of still passive because he's already doing it. But if you're talking about you want to be a staffing company passively, this ain't that. Multi-level market is not like you're going out there hustling. You're hustling in a different way. You're telling people about your business. And that's why I want people to stay in their niche, because who are the things that I have heard when you go and start talking to real business owners at events and they're like, you talking about, oh, I'm doing middleman government contractor. They're not going to know what you're talking about. They're not going to know what you're talking about. Yep. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like people that do real business, they're not going to have the slightest like clue of what you're saying. Even if you say I'm a government contractor, they're going to be like, what are you talking? What's your business? Because you have to choose a NAICS code, right? In order to even register in SAM. What was your primary NAICS code? Let's start there. So whatever it is, you could change it. Let's say you're like, okay, janitor, it ain't it. I want to cut grass now. Okay, boom, change it to cutting grass. Or with me with facilities, there's multiple things. So I can still say we do multiple things, but it's still under facilities that has its own NAICS code, inside, outside facilities, right? But if you're like, I'm just going to see what the government's going to buy, you're going to have a hard time, because if you don't have a distributor for every single thing on planet Earth that the government buys, you're going to have to rebuild that relationship every single time you find something. You're going to get burnt out. Why not rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat?
Yeah, I still consider myself to be a novice, and even as on the level that I'm at, like I think the middleman terminology, it's easy to lure people in, because that's definitely kind of what happened to me. But then when you get in, you start to realize that there's way more to it than what you're getting. And so once you start getting into it, then like the middleman concept is just to simplifying it. You know what I'm saying? But there's way more to it, because once you are the prime on the contract, even though you might have a subcontractor, you're still the prime. So technically, like,
they will come for your ass.
The middleman. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had a whole discussion with a friend about it. He was like, well, because it means this. I said, but clearly it means different things to different people. Because to me, I looked at wholesaling when I used to wholesale real estate. Now that was middleman to me, because you got the seller, the actual person that owns the house. You got the buyer, the actual person that's going to buy the house. And then you're just putting a contract between the two of them. Now that to me was middleman. That made sense, because I don't have a dog in the fight. No, I'm not held to no obligation unless I specifically sign a document saying that as a wholesaler, I will make sure this house gets sold and blah, blah, blah. To me, that's middleman, because that's based on my experience. And then my friend is like, well, when you sell drugs and I'm like, well, look, I ain't been that. So I
Yeah.
don't know how you dealt with it like that. But for me, I'm looking at, from my experience, and then with me working in government contracting, when I signed that document, that they're saying, I don't give a damn if your sub could die, you better find another sub or you better do it yourself. That's not a middle.
Yeah.
That's me being the mama. I'm the adult in the relationship. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Nah, that the government contracting is serious. Like, you know, you can profit from it and it could change your life, but it's extremely serious. Like, because once they give you that money, they not trying to hear it. That's how the
even
mafia deal with you.
even before they give you the money, right? Because you have, like, even in my industry, they have what's called bid bonds. Okay, so bonding is basically
Yes.
like what bonding is, like a second insurance policy type thing. And for bid bonds, they're saying that if you bid on this and you decide you don't want to do it, you owe us money. So you ain't even started yet. You haven't even been awarded yet. You bid on it. And then you're like, wait a minute, before you award it, I don't want to do it. They're like, oh, no, 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 no. We spent a lot of time and effort reviewing all of these proposals. If you don't continue with this bid, I don't care what you put, maybe you put the wrong numbers. If you don't go through with this, you got to pay us money, or your bonding company got to pay us money. So now you're a liability. The bonding company going to drop you, and you owe the government money. You haven't even done a damn thing yet.
This is why, for the listeners out there, this is why taking our course is beneficial, because it's an investment to save you from situations like that. Because for the small amount of time I've been in, like, I've already ran into stuff like that. So I feel like you and I could talk all day. There's so many other more questions that I would like to ask you, but I don't want to hold up your time. We definitely gonna have to run this back again in the near future. You already told them once. You might tell them again where they can find you at.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, of course, YouTube. What else? Well, TikTok. I ain't got TikTok no more, so I guess I ain't got TikTok. Yeah. So basically, YouTube and Instagram, Sheena Paneur. That's ShenaPreneur, and then Sheena Parker on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. Hey, and if you
Welcome.
enjoyed this video, if it's been helpful, please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.